Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. How is it possible that the productivity of the entire US economy, in other words, the ability to do work, the amount of work done, how is it possible that the productivity of the entire American economy has topped the levels seen prior to the pandemic, even with 8 million fewer workers? This is some incredible new reporting from CNBC. We'll take a closer look at this in just a second. Welcome to our channel, everyone. My name is Dr. Chhoda. Here's some information about me. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. Let's just jump right into this episode of Ignition Time. There are 8 million fewer workers in the country compared to the period prior to the pandemic because the labor force participation rate has gone down. Also, many individuals who were previously working are now no longer able to work because of childcare concerns, because of health reasons, because of other concerns and other responsibilities like taking care of other family members. A lot of individuals have actually chosen to retire early and perhaps even leave their jobs and reevaluate their careers and start small businesses. Small business applications are substantially higher because this pandemic has forced a reorganization of the American work culture. It has forced essentially many individuals to take a closer look at their psyche and say, hey, should I even be doing what I'm doing? In other words, can I do something else? Can I do something better? Can I switch careers? Can I learn a new skill? And can I switch jobs? That is exactly what has been happening as a result of this pandemic. In an ironic twist, those who are working are actually infinitely more productive, are significantly more productive because they're able to work from home. In fact, more and more individuals now want larger houses because they want separate office space. They want to be able to work from home, and they want to be able to essentially bring the same caliber of work, potentially even a higher caliber of work like they did in the office. Let's take a look at a brand new segment with CNBC that explores how the output of the US economy has now topped the level prior to the pandemic, but it was done with 8 million fewer workers simply because of higher productivity. Let's roll the tape and check out what Steve Leisman, the economic commentator for CNBC, had to say in a very interesting exchange with Becky Quick from CNBC on CNBC's Squawk Box. Let's roll the tape and check this out.
The economy experienced a productivity boom during the pandemic. It did so with 8 million fewer workers, and it could have a lasting impact. Steve Leisman joins us right now. He's got more on that front. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, good morning, Becky. Yeah, it's an astonishing fact of the pandemic that output from the U.S. economy has now topped the level from before the pandemic. But we did it with 8 million fewer workers. It's a result of booming productivity that several economists think is going to outlast the pandemic. It's good news for workers and for corporate profits. David Zervos from Jefferies writes, COVID caused us to shut down labor-intensive businesses which were inherently less productive. It then forced the rapid adoption of automation in nearly every sector of the economy. Deep down, we actually had the ability to produce so much more per worker than anyone would have thought possible a year ago. Here are some of the sources of that productivity. More e-commerce, it's more efficient. More working from home, also more efficient. Fewer input costs to the work. Doing more with fewer workers, business automation and organizational process. And of course, you have the creative destruction process that took place. Now, productivity booms after recessions all the time because unproductive businesses close down. And often the lowest productivity workers are let go. Then it comes back down to earth as the economy normalizes. The difference this time, new technological advances, new ways of doing things like virtual real estate sales. Sales per real estate worker have soared, and they're not seen going away. Goldman Sachs says work from home has mobilized part of the household capital stock, home offices and computers for business purposes, much like what Uber and Airbnb did for cars and second homes. So here are some of the results. Higher wages are possible and higher profits are also possible. Potential growth could be higher, but it could mean slower employment gains because we'll bring back a whole bunch of people quickly, but for another group of people, you may not have the jobs that are available because they were automated away. But also, it could mean, or really challenges the inflation story because it could mean lower inflation. University of Chicago professor Stephen Davis and colleagues, in a survey of 30,000 workers, he thinks that as a result, full work days at home will end up rising from 5% before the pandemic to 20% permanently. The paper essentially argues, having been forced to find ways of doing things more efficiently, workers and businesses are just not going to give them up, Becky.
You heard it, folks. The pandemic forcing rapid adoption of automation, work from home, booming productivity, and even as Steve Leisman said, certain workers, certain less productive workers essentially losing their jobs. Now, there is a flip side to this. The flip side is that e-commerce can actually hurt margins because really the really expensive things that people buy, the things that that you want to see in person. Let's say you wanted to buy a new car, for example, or something rather expensive. The really expensive things that most of us want to buy, we want to go out, we want to see things, we want to touch it, we want to feel it, we want to shop in person, we want to engage with the salesperson, we want to see it with other family members. So even though e-commerce has surged, it is not ideal for margins because it is a low margin business, a lot of impulse buys, a lot of things that don't cost a significant amount of money. People do fundamentally want to go out, see things and shop in person. But at the end of the day, the work from home culture, which has led to higher levels of productivity, is here to stay, even if it tapers off, which it will when things start to reopen, when people start going back to offices. This work from home culture, which is going to taper off, even when it does indeed taper off, it is going to lead to a phenomenon of higher productivity, significantly more work done per person, which is what is highlighted in this next segment from CNBC. In the next segment, let's take a look at Becky Quick playing the devil's advocate with Steve Leisman, basically saying, hey, there's a flip side to this. E-commerce hurts margins. People want to go out. And Steve's interesting response, as well as what we can expect post-pandemic in terms of higher productivity with less workers as the type of productivity evolves, as businesses evolve, as consumer behavior returns back to a baseline. But if there's one lesson you're going to take away from this episode of Ignition Time, I encourage you to improve your skills. I encourage you to learn new skills, become more productive, whether it's for your own self, for your own business, for your own employer. That's not the point here. Become more productive, learn new skills so that you can become a part of this new economy and become more financially successful as well as emotionally and mentally happy. Let's take a look at this interesting segment, this very interesting segment about consumer behavior, e-commerce, as well as people wanting to shop in person, as well as long-term trends in work from home leading to more productivity with Squawk Box from CNBC. Let's watch.
Steve, I've been thinking as you've been talking about that. Part of it makes sense, and I think there's some truth in some of it, but I don't think it tells or explains the whole truth. I mean, some of the industries that were shut down will come back. Some of the things like e-commerce, look, e-commerce may be part of productivity, but it hurts margins. I mean, we talked to Target this week. Part of the reason they're doing so well right now, and they're so much more profitable in the first quarter of this year than they were in the first quarter of last year, is because things that are sold in the store or deliveries where you go and pick it up at the store yourself is a much higher margin business for them than actually using a third-party shipper to get it to your door. Profitability, they want to go where the customer is, but they want to find the profits too. So I'm not convinced that all of this stuff is automated. You know that people want to get out and start shopping again. They just want the sociability of being outside. So we'll see. I'm not sure I believe it 100%. I do think it's a real trend. I just think there are other trends that are kind of colliding in at the same time, and we'll see which one wins out.
You should not believe it 100%. And any of the papers that I've read suggest that 100% of the gains from the pandemic are not going to remain. For a lot of reasons that you just specified there, Becky, people don't want to do all of their shopping online. They want to go see things. They want to feel things. They want to see things. And companies are going to want things to go, to sell things in stores. The question is, do we have a residual gain from it that remains? The numbers that I cited from Stephen Davis's paper, for example, we went up to like 38 or 40% work at home. He's saying it comes back down to 20%, and some of the gains remain, not all of it, and that ends up being a permanent one-time, not a one-time, but a permanent long-term boost to productivity.
Thank you so much, everyone. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. Let me know what you learned from this episode of Ignition Time as the US economy is now coming back out of its shell as America's economic output is increasing despite 8 million fewer workers. Pretty incredible, the evolution of the American economy post-pandemic. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I appreciate you. Please click the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. That would be your vote of confidence in our channel. We work hard on this channel every single day. We appreciate you and we'll see you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.